Iran plunges into panic after an important leader is killed in a series of events that exposes the Islamic Revolutionary Guard on several fronts at the same time. Mohammad Akbarzadeh, deputy political commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Navy and spokesperson for the regime's naval structure, died after the car he was in overturned in Kerman province in southeastern Iran, according to sources linked to the regime itself and international coverage that followed the case. The official version mentions a traffic accident, emergency care, transfer to a medical center, and death caused by the severity of the injuries. But the timing of this death opened a political wound that is hard to hide. Akbarzadeh was a public voice for Iranian pressure in the Strait of Hormuz. He had been sanctioned by the European Union on June 8 and was at the center of the forceful rhetoric used by Tehran against the West. Meanwhile, abroad, the police in Montenegro, with direct support from the FBI, arrested Amir Barati, identified as a cyber operator linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard and wanted by the United States for attacks against universities. Inside Iran, new reports of repression and clashes in sensitive areas show a regime surrounded by distrust, fear, and weariness.
What really happened? Why didn't the author of accident theory dispel the suspicions? How will Tehran respond?
While losing important names, I'll tell you all about it now. If you like this kind of straightforward and no-nonsense content, consider subscribing because we have videos like this every day. Hackers and internal control. Mohammad Akbarzadeh died in Kerman province, a strategic region in southeastern Iran, after his vehicle overturned, according to FARS, an agency aligned with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. The international coverage itself reportedly that police and Authorwave, according to FARS, an agency aligned with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Emergency services were called, that he was taken to a medical facility, and that the authorities have opened an investigation into the circumstances of the accident. The official information tries to close the case as a tragedy, but the death of a political figure from the Guards Navy doesn't appear in the news as a common event, because Akbarzadeh was not a discreet officer. He spoke on behalf of the naval branch of the regime at a time of direct confrontation in the Strait of Hormuz. The European Union placed Akbarzadeh on the sanctions list on June 8, stating that he was the deputy commander for political affairs of the Guards Navy and acted as the organization's spokesperson. The European Union Council accused the Guards Navy of threatening, harassing, and attacking commercial vessels, as well as attempting to impose fees and control over maritime traffic in the region. In practice, Akbarzadeh was one of the faces of Iranian intimidation against ships passing through one of the most sensitive routes of global trade. The death also weighs heavily because Akbarzadeh had been publicly supporting the narrative that the Guard was Authorwave. The death also weighs heavily because Akbarzadeh had been publicly supporting the narrative that the West was cornered.
A senior commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran states that the hegemony of the IMUA is in decline and that Washington is now begging Tehran for an agreement to end the war. Rear Admiral Mohammad Akbarzadeh, political deputy of the IRGC Navy, made this comment while addressing a gathering of the Iranian people in support of the Islamic regime. He said that the countries in the region and other world powers have come to the conclusion that the US is no longer able to guarantee the security of its allies. Akbarzadeh emphasized that it would be a miscalculation on the part of the leaders of Hezbollah to think they are more capable of guaranteeing the security of their allies, who believe Iran can be contained by military actions, sanctions, or unrest. The commander added that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and Washington's inability to reopen it proved Iran's power to the world. Akbarzadeh stated that Iran's armed forces have their finger on the trigger and will deliver an even more powerful response to any possible attack on the country. In May, he stated that the United States would be begging for an agreement with Tehran because of the rise in fuel prices and
regional instability. The Authorwave happened to us in subtitles, Authorwave, a while ago in subtitles, Authorwave,
subtitles, Authorwave, subtitles, Authorwave, subtitles, Authorwave, subtitles, Authorwave. tragedies. If the Americans actually did something, it wasn't exactly an action, but rather a reaction. It was just a reaction. Never, not even for a moment, should we feel at ease. We will not back down in the face of the United States.
Now, the same officer who used to project an image of strength is found dead in a case that is officially being treated as an accident. For the regime, this creates a communication problem. If it was just an accident, the question is why such a high-profile figure was so vulnerable. If there's more to it than that, Tehran will have a hard time admitting it without appearing incapable of protecting its own commanders. The second blow came far from Iranian territory. In Kotor, a coastal city in Montenegro, local police arrested Amir Barati, a 39-year-old Iranian-Turkish dual national, in an operation carried out in cooperation with the FBI. He was wanted by a New York court on charges of conspiracy to commit computer fraud, cyber intrusion, and identity theft. According to authorities cited by Reuters and the Associated Press, the attacks began. They began in 2013, targeted more than 150 universities in the United States, and are estimated to have caused losses of $3.4 billion.
On the coast of Montenegro. On the coast of Montenegro, the police arrested an Iranian woman for identity theft. Thank you.
The accusation against Barati increases the damage to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard because the stolen data and compromised university accounts were allegedly used for the benefit of the Guard itself. The case now goes to judicial review in Podgorica, the capital of Montenegro, as part of the extradition process. Iranian cyber warfare does not remain hidden forever behind universities, front companies, or agents scattered across Europe. The regime that threatens ships also tries to operate through keyboards, passwords, and covert intrusions. The arrest in Montenegro also shows a change in the European environment. The operation did not take place in a major capital, but in a coastal city where a suspect wanted by the United States was eventually located and detained. This matters because agents linked to hostile regimes often use networks, international travel, and dual citizenship to move around with less exposure. The joint operation with the FBI shows that security cooperation is tightening the net around operators linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. For Tehran, each arrest of this kind has a political effect because it reveals that the regime's external structure can be tracked, located, and brought to justice. Inside Iran, attention is also drawn to the behavior of the Basijeh militia. Human rights organizations reported that Amir Mohammad Kazemi, a 19-year-old soldier from the city of Nagar in Badsir County, Kerman Province, was killed after an incident related to loud music during the Islamic month of Muharram. The report published by Rengal states that members of the Basijeh took part in the action. The case sparked local outrage because it shows how everyday repression continues to suffocate the population in the simple details of ordinary life.
Bye. What's that? What's that? What's that? Not here.
It's a regime that also uses fear in the streets. In western Iran, another source of pressure appeared in Pave, in Kermanshah province. Reports from Rengal indicated that 2 members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard were killed and 2 others were injured in an attack on the night of June 29 in the Mirabad neighborhood. The coverage by the Jerusalem Post also cited the Tasnim agency, which is linked to the Guard, reporting that 2 members of the force died and 2 were injured in an armed attack. In other words, even sources close to the regime admitted losses on the ground. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard is not only facing external adversaries, It also deals with internal wounds opened by years of repression. The sum of these facts creates a tough situation for Tehran. An officer of the Guards Navy dies in circumstances officially classified as an accident. A cyber operator identified as linked to the Guard is arrested in Montenegro on billion-dollar charges in the United States. Members of the Guard are targets in Pave. Akbarzadeh appears in a report about the death of a young person in Kerman. And all this happens while the regime tries to maintain the image of a power that threatens the Strait of Hormuz, defies sanctions, and speaks as if it is in control of the region. The problem for Iran is that propaganda can't hold back reality for long. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Support our project and contribute financially through the Pix key that appears on your screen. We are an independent channel focused on keeping you informed with the facts. Your contribution helps us keep going.